If you've always wanted to support the show with your hard-earned cash, now's the time to pause, go to Patreon, and search out FNRad. Join one of our tiers. You'll get ad-free episodes every week, one day early, plus a whole bunch of more cool stuff. The FNRad Snowboard Podcast is presented by Skyview Campers. This game-changing tiny home camper is built by Never Summer in Denver, Colorado. Inspired by Frank Lloyd Wright's architecture, these 12-foot lightweight campers at just 1,500 pounds are a masterpiece in design. Enjoy sleeping like royalty under the stars on a true queen-size mattress with a moonroof in your secure, home-like bedroom surrounded by ample ventilation and shades for privacy. Stay cozy with a propane heating system and enjoy well-lit interiors powered by rooftop solar panels. And when it's time to cook, ingenious exterior countertops include a sink and a double-burner stove, all under a giant batwing awning. Skyview Campers, redefining adventure. Visit skyviewcampers.com to start your journey today. Wired Snowboards offers quality hand-built custom snowboards built and tested in the coastal mountains. Wired has built me several one-of-a-kind boards that have stood up to my daily shred habit. In fact, my first Wired Chase is still my go-to PAL board after 7 seasons. Wired brings my imagination into existence. That's fucking rad. Check out wiredsnowboards.com and design yourself a board to last a lifetime. Fixed snowboard bindings are simple, durable, and functional, featuring tool-free adjustments and a lifetime warranty on buckles and base trays. Fix makes bindings you can count on. Jason Bros created Fix after a bald-faced trip where his bindings failed and he vowed to build the world something better. I've been riding Fix buckles for the last 3 seasons and they're still like brand new. He's on to something. Fix, snowboard bindings built better. Rip Curl outerwear is designed to search further in the snow, offering strength, durability, and all-around performance. Whether you're venturing into the backcountry or on the resort, Rip Curl outerwear's got you covered. With a team that includes Chris Rasman and DCP, you can be confident that Rip Curl prides itself on creating jackets and pants with technical features that will keep you comfortable on your search. For over 35 years, the Boardroom Snowboard Shop has been Vancouver's premier snowboard shop. Check out the Boardroom's unmatched selection of snowboards, bindings, boots, outerwear, and everything you need to shred. The Boardroom's passionate staff and performance guarantee ensures you'll love what you buy. And remember, the Boardroom ships to anywhere in North America. So go to boardroomshop.com or visit their stores in Vancouver and North Van. The Boardroom Snowboard Shop. Outlive your friends with New Green's turbocharged organic drink mix. New Greens is a great tasting 100% organic, vibrant green juice mix, and they include sprouted seeds that leave the food in its most natural, healthful, raw state for fast digestion and maximum health. Use code FNRAD at newgreens.com for 20% off your new daily breakfast routine. New Greens, my daily go-to. Stay tuned after the show for a chance to try New Greens for free. Support also comes from Mount Seymour, Grouse Mountain, Cypress Mountain, the Pro Standard GoPro accessories, and our friends at 1910. You can use code FNRAD at checkout for 20% off at 1910.com. I've set the intention that FNRAD Season 9 will include a big focus on mental wellness, so I'm stoked to be partnering with The Haven on beautiful Gabriola Island. The Haven's 40 years of experience sharing knowledge about how to live more effectively as humans has helped many people. I just got back from a 5-day retreat, and I'd describe the experience as transformative. I know I've spoken a lot about psychedelic-assisted therapy, so I feel the need to say this was not that, and it was just awesome. The Haven has a full range of programs based on a foundation of radical honesty. Tap into your inner resources and liberate yourself from self-defeating patterns within the context of a group in it together, helping to provide empathy, witnessing, and self-acceptance. Go to haven.ca for more program information and use FNRad 10 at checkout for a discount. Also, feel free to DM me your questions about the Haven. The day I met Michael McDaniel, it was bright and sunny. The summer public pipe at Mount Hood was well shaped and people were going off. I was up on the deck trying to shoot Gentle Brad on his Nina Simone wired custom board when Michael did a hand plant just a few feet below where I was filming, and I noticed he was hiking back up to do it again. Michael McDaniel is a professional snowboarder who rides for GNU, Oakley, Airblaster, Cole, FatTire, and JBL Audio. His smile and energy are infectious, and his style is powerful and smooth. That afternoon, I asked if I could film a clip for him of the hand plant. He smiled and told me sure. I think I airdropped it to him right there and then, and he was stoked. Going to Mount Hood in the summer has been pretty consistent since I first went to Wendell's in 1990. Mount Hood is an active stratovolcano in the Cascade Volcanic Arc. Its peak is the highest point in Oregon at 11,249 feet, and it attracts riders from around the world every summer with a mix of sun, snow, and world-class freestyle terrain. Back in the 90s, a significant part of snowboard videos would feature summer riding at Mount Hood. The summer camps built the biggest and most creative new features, and the best snowboarders in the world would push the progression. Off-hill, it's pretty much the same today as it was in 1990. You go swimming at Mirror Lake and have a fire with some beers, or you go to Charlie's, or you do both. That night after filming his hand plant, we followed the Blaze boot campers to the lake, then down to Charlie's where karaoke was playing and someone had a saxophone. It was total mayhem. The next time I bumped into Michael at the top of the Holy Bowley course, I asked if he would be on the show. And here's the result of him saying yes.
They've been friends since like high school. So,
Right.
Yeah.
But they're blowing it, not having him as a guest. He was the number one guest of our show last year, Scott Stevens.
Yeah. I mean, he has transcended so many different avenues in snowboarding, is so approachable and is so creative. And at the same time is so well known by Chris.
And he's so self-effacing. He's like, oh, I'm mini golf. I'm this. I'm like, dude,
you're incredible.
You're the most relatable pro snowboarder. People love his stuff.
Yeah.
And rightfully so, because he's an incredible snowboarder. And he's one of the most fun to watch in the world. Straight up.
It's one of those things that I think it really does come from like snowboarding in your backyard and like making do with what you have.
Yeah. Yes.
It really brings out a special eye for creativity there. And like, you can almost kind of tell like somebody will like do a trick and you'll be like, cool, you definitely learned that like on a box you built in your backyard or something.
Yeah, totally.
It's like I learned how to do air to fakies on a quarter pipe I built like in a driveway at one point.
I love that.
All right, cool. I don't know how this works. Might as well learn how to do it.
You were living somewhere where there was snow like in your yard?
No, we had family friends who lived in Northern California and would visit Tahoe pretty often. And they were like, yeah, come out, like come hang out with us on like school breaks and whatnot. And I just started to slowly but surely fall in love with it. And yeah, any waking moment I had while we were up there, it was like I was either at a resort, which we rode Alpine Meadows more often than not.
Okay.
Sick resort.
Yeah.
Doesn't really have much of a park now, but the terrain is incredible, and that place taught me how to turn real good.
Yeah, it's steep. That place is steep.
Steep and aggressive.
Yeah.
Cool cliffs, neat people.
Rad.
But like any other waking moment I had a shovel in my hand was like learning how to like dig and build things. And
what was the era that you started in? So like what was your first board?
My first board was, I don't even know the model name. It was a ride. It was stiff as a board. It was slightly too big for me. It was like mustard yellow top sheet, ketchup base with a mustard yellow ride logo, and an RC car on the top sheet. I will never forget that.
Oh, that's dope.
Yeah. Solomon bindings that were way too big for me and boots that did not fit in the bindings, which is why I crank my bindings down the way I do now.
Still
actually.
now.
Yeah.
Still to this
like
day.
The toe straps never fit, so I had to go like on top of my toes, like on top of the knuckles, and crank down as hard as I could. And I still do that now because it's like cool.
Crushing your boots?
Snowboard like you were 12. No, it's completely comfortable now. Like,
that's just the mode. Yeah.
That's the mode.
Yeah, my bindings, people always ask me, why are you still riding those? They're about 15-year-old ride bindings with the single strap.
Oh, you had the Y strap ones? Yeah.
I just got addicted to them, and I try toe straps, and I don't like them.
Huh.
It's twice as much bending over, and I don't know. I like the quirk, too. I like to be the quirky guy that's got the weird shit.
Why not?
Yeah.
Honestly, why not? Like, if the gear works for you, like, run it.
Yeah.
Honestly, like, the things that make your snowboarding unique might be running, like, weird bindings or, like, boots that are too soft or, like, I'll run linerless boots sometimes and, like, not tell anybody. But
That's
like,
dope.
Some of the, like, tweak photos that are, like, cool, how is he, like, scratching his back?
Yes.
Those boots are, like, children's Sorels pretty much, but, like, waterproof and built for people,
What
men.
boots do you ride? Vans?
I ride Vans, yeah.
Those guys are sick, right?
Fantastic boot makers. I've been skating the shoes since I was a child, and the boots feel like the shoes.
Yeah.
So it's kind of just a seamless transition from everyday to...
That's a really cool way of putting it. I never
Yeah.
even thought about it that way. There's definitely something about the look of the boot for me, looking exactly like the shoe, that I'm like, yeah, that's how I want my feet to look.
Oh, I love it too.
Yeah.
It just kind of looks like normal shoes. Yeah.
Yeah,
Instead of
yeah.
it being like a big event to go snowboarding, like no, just put on your waterproof shoes, strap into your snowboard, and go jet.
That's it.
Go skate a bowl. Who knows?
That's
Yeah.
cool that you could do the cheat with the for the tweaks with the, because I rode one day with the linerless, because they're like pow surf boots,
Yeah,
right?
pretty
like
much.
they're perfect for pow surfing.
Yeah.
But they were in the back of the car, and I forgot my regular boots. And the biggest problem was that they didn't fit in the bindings properly.
Oh,
But the
yeah.
tweak factor was high.
For me, I have big feet, so I like the smaller footprint of the linerless boot. It
Yeah.
fits into my binding slightly better,
Yeah,
honestly. So it's
yeah.
like cool.
That's fun.
Barely have to try to like jam my foot into a binding anymore.
It's creative too,
Yeah.
right? So where did you start? You started at on Tahoe trips.
That and then locally, Mountain High and Bear Mountain were like 2 hours away. So like weekends that like I had friends in middle school and whatnot that liked to snowboard too. So we'd all go up together and figure out how to like do 180s and little jibs and ride across dirt patches and do that whole thing.
Were you guys like into the videos and magazines, that kind of thing, or were you just like enthusiasts?
Thankfully, I guess my mom had a friend that worked at Transworld, and he would like
Whoa.
every once in a while like pass off like old skate DVDs and old snowboard DVDs.
No
and,
way.
Like, a T-shirt or two, and it was like, cool. What is this? Like, how are people like making a career out of this? Because like, seems really cool and really creative, and never really put much thought to it. Just like did the normal school thing, sports, skateboarding, surfing, Southern California nonsense. And then like beginning of high school, it really started to hit like, this is really fun, and I kind of want to do this the rest of my life.
Wow.
Yeah. I guess to go back a little bit, the program that originally got me to like get up to the local hills was called Blue Angels, and it's essentially a way to get kids out of Southern California and up to the mountains and like give them first time ski snowboard lessons, and you can kind of work your way up from there.
Sick.
But it's a good jumping off point for kids that like live a little bit further away but also like should be outside enjoying the mountains like everyone else.
Yeah.
Which
Hell yeah.
it's really cool that programs exist like that to give kids initial access like that. And I was really lucky to be part of that program. And then eventually the local like competitive team noticed me and was like, hey, what do you think about like coming and riding for us? And started competing a little bit.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
like,
dope.
Very natural progression of things. But yeah, it was good. Southern California was a wonderful place to grow up.
Ah, that's
Like
cool.
bounced around a lot until I was like 9, and then we stayed there for the rest of my growing up, I guess, until I moved out.
Yeah. And you moved out when you were 16, is that
Yep.
right?
Yep.
You moved out of your parents' house when you were 16.
Yeah. Yes, I did.
And just to go snowboarding, essentially.
It came to a point where my father, career-wise, was going to have more opportunity on the other side of the country and was right about to move all of us to Florida.
Okay.
And being an angsty little 16-year-old, I was like, nah, this whole snowboarding thing's got to work. Like, got to figure out a way to, like, do the thing somehow.
Yeah.
And all very coincidental, but ended up going to snowboard camp, like the last session that summer, whatever summer that was. Met who was going to be my longtime mentor and coach, Nick Poplowski, and he was like, hey, if you ever consider coming to Utah, like, there's a team that I coach, and I'd be really stoked to have you, that sort of thing. And, yeah.
What camp were you at? High Cascade?
I was at High Cascade, yeah.
That's amazing.
Session 6. We'll never forget that.
Yeah.
Yeah, just mind-blowing experience seeing everything that I'd seen in magazines and promo videos and all the little things that had been sent to my house until then, just all in person, like, whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa, what is this place?
The summer scene there is unprecedented. There's nowhere else in the world
it's magic.
that is like that.
It's absolute magic. There's no other word I can put to it. It's like playing the bonus level of a video game once you have all the weapons unlocked. Like craziness.
That's a really
soft,
good analogy.
sunny, everyone's smiling and laughing, everybody's like encouraging each other, learning something new.
Yes.
The creative energy is so high up there. It's a wonderful place to go as a kid. It's a wonderful place to be as an adult. I'm very lucky to get to go every year and just take it in.
Yeah, the nature part of it too. Like one time we went and we did camping on the ground, in a tent.
So fun. I love camping up there. Yeah.
It was awesome, swimming in the lake
Yep.
and doing the whole thing. And then one time we got to go in like a wood cabin in the woods.
Yo, what?
Yeah, it was way back in the heyday. So there was money in snowboarding.
Yeah.
The sponsors had like a cabin in the woods for the summer, for the whole summer.
That's incredible.
We would hitchhike up to the
that.
mountain. It was insane. It was so good. And then as a consumer of snowboarding, I've also stayed in the lodge up there, which any listeners listening, if you can afford to go and get, I don't know what the rooms are up there now, but at the time we could get them for like $100. You're staying on hill.
Yeah.
The spring pass was $100. Mm-hmm. So like, it was like, we would go every year and stay and hot tub on the hill and just ride. Like their spring parks are some of the best parks in the entire world.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
That April, May, early June pass, it's still like $100-something. So it's super accessible.
Yeah.
If you got the time, highly recommend taking some time and making it out to Mount Hood. Spring pass goes.
And everybody that's up there too. So there's people that are camping in the parking lot. There's people that are at the campsites. There's people like us that are tourists coming down doing the lodge. Like,
oh, totally.
It's
yeah.
insane. It's totally insane.
Such a nice mix of people too, because you're all there for the same reason. You're just going about it slightly differently.
Yeah, every once in a while we'll see Hawaiians up there.
So sick.
It's the best.
That
it's
are
the
like
best.
you set up a campsite and you like hear noise and you're like, ooh, that's wildlife. No, that's like 8 people in a tent and a truck. That's sick. I'm gonna go over there and say hi.
Yeah, and High Cascade has it set up so well now with the yurts in the back and the camping stuff there.
Yeah, having everything
wow.
kind of consolidated now at the old Wendell's campus is really, really sick.
Yeah.
Because like every inch of that place is skatable.
Totally.
Like, if you don't know that, it's just kind of like, cool, the architecture's kind of weird. But no, you can grind every curb there. Like,
oh, it's so dope.
Yeah, incredible place. They got it all super dialed. It was kind of in a state of flux for a while. We didn't quite know what was happening, and I happened to be working there at the time as a coach.
Yeah.
And that was interesting, but they've ironed out a lot of the kinks, and camp's very much back.
What was interesting about being a coach at High Cascade? Is it stuff you could talk about, or is there, because there's a lot of stuff that goes on with the staff there that it's you can't talk about it really.
It's just a very interesting environment to be in. Like, you're all fired up about snowboarding all the time. You're in charge of like passing on snowboarding to a group of kids and a different group of kids every week. So that's a little chaotic.
Yep.
You're like also trying to keep them alive on an active volcano. And you're also strapped to a piece of wood that likes to go fast.
Yeah.
So like, it's pretty complicated, but like it's so much fun. I love being up there. And
how long did you coach for?
I still coach up there, but I'll go up there as a guest and coach for a week or two, but consistently coached 3 or 4 full summers.
Yeah. I'm always curious about how the kids are handling the phone thing, right? Like
that's been a really interesting, you notice a discrepancy a lot of times where like a kid will genuinely want to be there to snowboard, or they're like on the glacier on their phone.
Yeah.
But like the kids that genuinely want to be there to snowboard, it changes their life. Like it's the most mind-blowing experience if you're open to just learning and taking it all in. It's beautiful to watch like a shy kid that like barely talks at the beginning of the session be like the class clown at the end of it. And like for the whole session, not just your group.
Yeah.
Like just lights up, and it's like, cool, this is part of my like being now, like part of my personality. This is so cool.
That's rad.
That, and they'll end up like making friends, and you stay friends with your camp friends for the rest of your life. Like I'm still friends with all of my camp friends.
Yeah.
Which is really
awesome.
special. Like
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I ended up going to my camp buddy's house. I lived in Northern Ontario. We drove 17 hours
So sick.
to New Hampshire. And,
Exactly,
you know,
yeah.
he's like, here's where Tuckerman's Ravine is. And we went surfing, and like,
Oh,
it was
sick.
crazy.
Yeah.
It was crazy. And yes, Steve Floyd. Shout outs to Steve.
Yes.
I met him in 1990
Love that.
at Wendell's.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, come on.
It's, yeah.
The other thing there that I love was the social signaling, right? So as the adults in the group, you're showing kids how, you know, this is how we dress. This is how we treat each other. This is, like,
Yeah, you get to pass along a lot more than just like tips and tricks on how to snowboard. It's like how you present yourself, how you speak, how you go about packing a lunch in the morning, like really little things, how you tie your boots.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
the tiniest little things will leave an impression, and setting, I guess, a positive precedent for the future is super important. And I value that a lot. I hope everybody working there now full time does too. But yeah, showing kids like this is the music we listen to, and like this is how you grab your snowboard.
Yeah,
Like, this is how you carry your snowboard.
Totally.
This is how you walk. This is
Right.
like how you talk about like life in general. It's super neat.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's so cool. It would be an honor to be in that space and be respected by the kids, or maybe not respected by the kids because kids are kids, but be invited into that space by the community that they've built at High Cascade.
Yeah.
It's like those guys are top-notch people.
They really are. Yeah. It's a lot of really good people with their hearts in the right place, just trying to make more space for kids to learn about what they love and what we all love too. So it's kind of a positive snowball of
chaos.
Chaos. Absolute chaos.
I called Wendell in about 2000 because we got so much snow in the local mountains. I was like, maybe I'll run like a session of camp or something, just, you know, for local kids up at the thing. I called Tim and he was like, don't do it. It's so much work. Like, you have no idea what you're getting into. It is too much work. Just fucking go hike it and build a jump. You know what I mean? It's not something you can take lightly.
No,
creating a camp.
It's a labor of love, but if you really love it and you love it that much,
Yeah.
it's a joy to pass it on. Like,
Hell yeah.
I don't mind a second of any of the extra nonsense I had to do at camp because seeing a kid learn a new trick or just make a new friend or whatever it was, like the little things.
Yeah. And like
So
you
good.
and like you alluded to in the beginning, like going to camp made you realize I could do a career as a pro snowboarder.
Yeah, like just seeing that whole environment and how creative the people you look up to, and then like the kid next to you, like everybody's in the same zone, like that you're all feeding off that same energy, and that's really eye-opening. It's very much like, cool, snowboarding's bigger than just me strapping in and going and making turns. It's me and all my new friends now.
Right.
Like this
right.
is so cool.
So when do you what's your first sponsor?
I guess my first legitimate sponsor was Tech9.
Cool.
And I was 17.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's, I mean, Tech9 was great. Tech9.
They were wonderful to me at the time, and just kind of being around Bear and seeing that whole scene of like Bradshaw, Gooner, like that whole squad that tailed around behind him. I was the tiny little kid, like widening my stance and like trying to sneak in behind him and like get the little extra tap in or whatever. But yeah, it eventually led into like, hey, I kind of want to like figure out how to do this. And they were like, yeah, you're decent. We'll send you some boards. We'll see what's going on.
Cool.
And they really put faith in me and made me feel included for the first time and brought me on my first international trip. And
where'd you go?
We went to Camp of Champions, the last session it was ever a thing.
Oh,
it
wow.
It was DC and Tech9 week, and it was absolutely nuts.
Yeah, that sounds crazy.
It was so much fun. It was such a wonderful, eye-opening experience as a kid, like being the youngest one on a trip. So, like, of course you get Grom bashed and all that nonsense. And, like, yeah, that was bad. But whatever. It's all part of the learning experience, and I'm very honored that they...
Yeah, you're an in-between generation, right?
Yes.
Like, so my generation, and actually the one right before me, the hazing was insane.
Oh, nuts.
It was, like, physical. Like, you could get physically beaten up. Like, it was crazy.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I feel like we're going away from that, hopefully.
Thankfully. Because it was still kind of intense while I was coming up. Like, not only was it, like, verbal Grom bashing, like, making sure you're on time and, like, have all your shit together and, like, oh, your boot's not tied, or, like, oh, you dropped your pocket, whatever, little stuff. But, like, they'll feed you drinks till you puke. And, like, you don't know your limits yet as a kid. So,
of course not.
They're just going to go for it until you figure it out. But, like...
That's the thing we've never really talked about on the show is, like, exposure to, like, drugs and alcohol as a young, impressionable kid. It happened to a lot of us.
Yeah, it's super gnarly to get thrown into that situation and not really know what goes into, like, your teammates partying. But, like...
Sure.
You know, it's something that... through experience, you're able to learn and grow from, and thankfully, I never really got involved with any of that sort of thing. Like,
that wasn't your mode. You never were the party guy that would out party your snowboarding.
No, absolutely not. Snowboarding's always been my number one joy, and of course, partying is going to be a part of it. But it's just kind of knowing your limits and doing, I guess, what makes you happy and you comfortable. Yeah. So if it's ordering cranberry juice at the club, fucking do it.
Man, I had to be a full-on adult before I could figure that one out. That was a tough one. I had a lot of just peer pressure type. Like, I'm not good with peer pressure. Yeah.
I mean, same here. Like, a lot of peer pressure to, I don't know, drink early, do whatever. But you know, it's just kind of you as an individual. You gotta look inward there.
You seem like you had yourself, like, as an adult, you seem like you're rock fucking solid.
Thank you.
But I can imagine as a kid you had yourself, like, you knew, I'm not gonna fucking go off the rails on this trip because I don't want to get cut from this team. I love this fucking stuff.
Yeah, it was definitely a thought in the back of my head. It wasn't like at the forefront of my mind and like all I was focused on, because it's all just fun.
Right.
Let's be real, it's all just fun.
Right.
It was one of those things that, like, I've seen people like overdo it and burn out at this point, and like was starting to see my peers start to do it, and like that's gnarly. I want to do this forever. Like, I got to rein it back in or figure something out. Like,
you have a lot of examples of people that became like respectable pros that kept it going into their 40s. That just didn't exist when we were kids. It was like, I think Jason Brown quit when he was 22 or 23. Like, a lot of the top dogs, Dale Rayberg, like, oh man, so many people quit when they were so young.
I know, yeah. There was like, the cutoff was 30 for a really long time.
Oh my God.
And everyone was so worried about it.
Yeah,
and
30 was old. Right.
Some people are still worried about it. Like, I've had roommates in the past that like were turning 30 and like they go through this whole crazy crisis. But like, no, you're going to wake up on your birthday and you're going to want to go strap in. Like,
of course.
Not much changes. Just
Yeah,
keep
snowboarding
doing
doesn't
it. It's
change.
still going to be
Right.
fun.
Yeah.
Like you might not go as big, but like still do it. Are you kidding? Turning's the most joyful thing in the world.
It's
Like-
pow turn.
Oh, yeah.
Stomping a jump still for me. I'm going to be turning 50 this summer.
That's so
and
sick.
for me, stomping a jump is still. I mean, it's fewer and far between now, but it's. I'm still chasing that.
That smile's still the same when you land, isn't it?
That's
Yep.
it,
Yep.
that's
The
it.
giggle's still the same,
Yeah,
isn't it?
totally,
Yeah. No, that's
totally.
exactly what it is.
Yeah.
It's just keeping that joy alive.
Yeah, and letting go of the. I had tricks that I thought I was gonna get, and they're gone.
Yeah. That's just a reality for everybody.
Yeah,
like,
sure.
There are things that I still wanted to do, but like it comes to a point where you're like, that's like really gnarly and probably not worth it, risk versus reward style. So like
So in your pro
you
career,
let it go.
what was your mechanism? Like, did you have to do competitions to prove yourself to get onto the bigger team, or were you filming parts? Was it already social media time by the time you were pro?
It was a little weird because it was like, as social media was like kind of blowing up,
Yep.
and I actually ended up going like viral on social media for completely other reasons. But like, you remember Vine being a thing?
Yes.
Yeah, it was like Vine famous for a while or whatever.
Really?
Like just 6-second whatever videos just
Yeah.
made a meme at one point and it blew up. But like was kind of used to this whole weird like, ooh, the internet might be a thing.
Yes.
Like I kind of want to play into this a little bit, but I didn't really know how.
Right.
And so it was kind of like, all right, get on a shop and like do the contest thing. That was still very much the way you did things.
Okay.
So it was kind of like, oh, the internet's kind of like on the back burner. I'm going to go like compete and whatnot. So I got to the point of like rev tours and like, I guess the qualifiers to get on the US team, like being on like a feeder pretty much where they have eyes on you and all of your results are potentially going to get you sent off to some crazy event where you end up on a cereal box. But
Sure.
it just got to a point where that was so gnarly, and the appeal of being creative and seeing peers like, I don't know, Scott and Chris and a bunch of other really creative heads like taking their feet out and like doing weird butters and making snowboarding look more accessible seemed more appealing.
Cool.
So it was like, okay, time to kind of shift focus a little bit, and I kind of want to try the film thing. That didn't really work out right away.
Okay.
Like our first little foray kind of got some traction on Snowboarder and like, ooh, these kids are able to do this like on their own. This is kind of nutty. Like that sort of like, whoa, this hasn't ever been done before sort of deal. But I actually ended up coaching snowboarding for a long time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that was very much my in to being involved all the time was giving back.
Yep.
It was kind of, it got to a point mentally where I was kind of prepared to be a coach for the rest of my life and not ever really make a like athletic career out of snowboarding.
Take a
More so
stab
just-
at the pro thing. Right.
yeah.
Right.
And thankfully, I guess being around at camp for as long as I was able to kind of network and meet people. And the Mervyn heads kind of tapped me on the shoulder one day and they were like, hey, we kind of want you to like try this board out. Let us know what you think. And they gave me a big blue sparkly swallowtail.
What?
Yeah. It was the sickest thing ever. It was what's now Blake Paul's board, the Hyper, but it was, I think, the first year they made it. And they're like, cool, we want you to test this thing out.
I remember that one.
Yep.
I remember that.
Did one frontside air and was like, okay, I think this is where I'm going to end up now. And yeah, they've been
The
more
boards
than
ride so
supportive,
good.
and
Hey, the boards just ride so amazing.
They make snowboarding more fun somehow.
They
Like
do,
I keep telling
yeah.
people, like,
Yeah.
there are a lot of naysayers out there.
Yep.
But I don't know. Surfboards are bent upwards.
Yep.
Serrated knives cut steak real good.
Yeah.
Why not put those two things together and
It's
go make a
just
turn?
one of these weird manufactured divides in my social group. Like
Yeah.
like Never Summer is another one of those ones where people just for whatever reason have decided they don't like Never Summer. I'm like, have you ridden one of the boards? Like, try the fucking thing out. They ride awesome. Like, if it makes it fun for you, but you're not willing to try it on some weird principle of like, I don't like that. Because why? Because you tried it? Not because you tried it.
No, it's really important to ride everything.
Sure, yeah.
Like ride a 2x4 with bindings screwed into it.
Yep. Try a stiff board. Try.
No, I mean like a literal.
board.
I mean like a literal 2x4. Like anything. Like stand on a sled and try and ride downhill. Like,
Mikey LeBlanc style.
Big
LeBlanc.
shout out, Mikey LeBlanc.
Yeah.
You're the man. I miss you. Let's hang out soon.
How badass was that part this year? Ugh.
Assisted living was one of my favorite things to ever happen to snowboarding.
He's the best. He's been doing that for so long.
Such a wonderful human.
Creativity, and like the heart. Such a big heart.
Yeah, being around that guy, he's such a wonderful influence in that regard because he's still doing it. He's 50.
Yes, he is. Yes, and he's still doing it.
He's showing me gaps. He's showing me spots, and I'm like, dude, this is so gnarly. Like, what?
Yeah.
And he'll go back and hit it, like now.
Yeah.
Like that sort of thing. And it's like, okay, there's some sort of fountain of youth aspect with you, and I got to figure this out.
That's where the rubber hits the road is a Mike LeBlanc. There's not many other people, I can't even think of any off the top of my head, where he did it his way. And he made things cool, like landing fucking flat as fuck.
So beast.
How could you make that cool? But he did it. He did it.
I have knee and lower back problems because of
Mike, right? And now on that tip with Mike, the heart that's behind it is like he made a point of saying on his bomb hole that Ben Balak was the one who shaped the takeoff for like this massive drop from Love Hate. And I know that Ben loved that. Like I saw how much that meant to Ben in his eyes. Here at Bowley last year, I was like, dude, you got a rad shout out on Mike's bomb hole. And he was like, I can't believe he remembered that. I'm like, that's the kind of person I want to be.
Yeah.
Somebody like that where he's just elevating his peers because he's a fucking solid dude.
Yeah, that's something that I do actually want to bring up is despite snowboarding being, I guess, viewed as an individual sport, when you're out there filming a street part or like a full-on video, it's such a team effort. You're working with photographers, filmers, your friends, fellow snowboarders, artists, all kind of thrown into a blender.
Your sponsors, like, hey, I need this money to go on this trip.
You're working with your sponsors to make sure
Team
that everybody's
manager,
happy.
everybody.
You're working with your TMs to make sure that you're getting places.
It's a huge community, right?
It's such a big, team of people to make projects happen that it's important to highlight that. So I'm always, I guess, in instances where a photographer takes a little bit of extra time to go do another one. And I have to hike up and do it again. Like, thank you. Thank you for doing that because you know what looks best. Like, I trust your artistic vision here. Like, if you're going to tell me to go do something again, gladly. Like, if somebody wants to go hit a spot and I'm all beat up and tired that day, I'm going to go pick up a shovel and just build and then chill and hopefully they get a clip or pick up the camera and go do second angle or something. But be productive and do as much as you can as an individual to contribute to the team you're working with.
So sick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I first heard that on Jody Wozniak's Airtime podcast, where he's talking about the
Jody's also a good dude.
He is.
Yeah.
With the group dynamic on a trip.
Yeah.
Because here's Jody, who's man boys. So that crew looks just like a lot of fun.
Yeah, because they all get along so well.
And then he's going on a trip, and maybe not him. Maybe he's talking about somebody that he knows.
Yeah.
And you're thrown into this trip with just someone who happens to be on the same team as you. But, if you're competing for clips, that sucks. If this guy's looking at you going, fuck, if you get a good clip, I might get cut from the team. That's a whole other... a whole other dynamic that I can't even imagine how hard that would be.
Yeah, it also really comes down to the individual, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm a relatively competitive person, but when it comes to filming, it's really important to play to your own strengths. And if you get to a spot that really doesn't, and somebody else has a crazy idea, let them do it.
Right.
Like within reason, like if it's not like absolutely life-threatening.
Right.
Like
right.
I've definitely pulled people into spots that I regret pulling them into now, but like,
Yeah.
if it's not horribly life-threatening or hurting anybody else, like, let them do it.
Sure.
Because, like, that's only going to make the brand stronger.
Right.
Like, all of you working together and being stoked on each other getting clips instead of, like, competing for the same down bar. Go find another down bar. Or, like, go find a wall or something. Like,
right.
if you're on a street trip, there's more than enough opportunity to find something different.
Yeah.
And it's important to, no matter how small the spot might look to other people, play to your strengths. Do something cool on it. Because that might leave the biggest impression. You never know.
Yeah, clips,
you really never know.
Clips require like a little bit of magic.
It's so subjective.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
sometimes the smallest thing in the world done right is the most beautiful clip in the world.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like,
agreed.
Gigi Ruff, no grab front 3. That's burned into so many people's brains because it's gorgeous.
It's gorgeous.
He just falls asleep in the air, lets his arms fall behind him, looks over his shoulder, and that's that. So simple.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Who were your guys growing up? Who did you look up to? Who did you emulate?
Okay, this looks crazy. Kind of all over the place.
Good.
But,
yeah.
Kier's a big one. Stevie's a huge one. Russ, of course. Gabby Maiden.
I'm seeing a theme here.
Chris Roach.
Wow.
Selaznick. Bradshaw.
Yeah.
Being teammates with Magoon as a high schooler was mind-blowing.
Awesome. Awesome.
Andrew Brewer, another huge one that we still get to go snowboard all the time, and very, very lucky to know him.
I love Andrew.
Big fan.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's so many influences. My friends growing up, they're the biggest influence,
That's cool.
honestly. Like, shout out Austin, Dylan, Chandler. You know who you are. Y'all are the sickest. Thank you. Yeah, just like the kids that were so fired up just because you love it.
Yeah.
Like, that's the reason that I snowboard as hard as I do now. Because it really wouldn't do snowboarding justice to not ride like a frickin' cracked out 12-year-old in my mind. So I do.
So when you join the Mervyn team, you find a home on a team of quirky, creative, thinking outside the box individuals that just happen to make some of the best snowboarders in the whole world and some of the craziest marketing, which is so fun.
Yeah.
Like, how fun is it to join that team?
It's been such a cool opportunity. Like, they've taken such good care of me and given so many cool opportunities to so many of us that all I can really say is thank you. Like, oh my God. It was such a sigh of relief to go from like landing on wet concrete to cool, taking your back foot out's totally normal. Like, snowboarding in board shorts is totally cool. Like, we're going to go snowboard with mirrors for a day. Like, craziness.
Yes.
Like,
craziness.
what are we doing? But I don't know. Like, it's been such a wonderful experience. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm very, very grateful. Let's put it that way.
How many bowlies have you been to?
5 or 6.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, because there's a couple that happened at Hood, too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, there were 2 at Hood, Mammoth, Threadbow, Australia.
Wow.
And then here.
Okay, what's the difference between Holy Bowly and kind of any other event that you go to? Is it a noticeable difference, or
Yes. Yeah. Everything from the energy to the course that's there, it's all very, very unique. Like, you'll go to some events and it's just kind of like, for no better description, like a recreated X Games course with like a couple quirks.
That makes
but
sense.
But like, it's pretty much like rail pad, jump, jump, jump.
Yep.
Which, like, it's fun. It's so much fun. I love it. but getting to be in a space where you're not the only person going sideways across the hill.
Yeah.
And also getting to meet other creative people from all over the world. Like, I've made friends at Bowleys that like I don't get to see all year, and I see them once. But cool. Like within that week-long span that we're around each other, it's just like, cool. Let's go crazy. This is fun. Yeah, it's definitely a unique experience, and Crush does a wonderful job bringing a nice, healthy mix of everybody together.
He sure does.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have to prepare for Bowley? Because I'd imagine an X Games type course, there's a form of training or mental training that you got to get into that mindset.
Yeah.
Whereas coming here is kind of like maybe taking a big sigh of relief. Like, we're going to Bowley. We're gonna take it easy and just creatively snowboard and have fun all day for 5 days.
As long as you pack enough layers and a shovel, you're good. Like, it's
yeah.
The least you need to mentally prepare for something.
Yeah.
But also the most you need to mentally prepare for something. Because if you aren't ready for how crazy that course is, as soon as you're in the middle of it that first day, you're so overwhelmed. Like, I've been so overwhelmed so many years, just like, where am I supposed to go from here?
Right,
like
right.
Worrying about like 5 or 6 different things at once, and you're rolling into the wrong feature. Oh, oops.
Awesome.
Here we go. Yeah. But it's not like you don't make a gap, you're falling in a giant hole sort of deal.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, that pressure is sort of alleviated. Like,
but it's still sort of that, right? Like, you can air the flat on stuff.
It's really big.
Yeah.
And some of the stuff is really short and really abrupt. So if you aren't ready for technical turning and also being prepared to go big, Bowley's gonna work you over a little bit.
Yeah. Your turn over the tree, little, like, just finding that little line today when I was following you down. I'm like, this guy's having fun. This guy's finding a spot that's his own in this course. That was dope.
That's the biggest key to Bowley, is play to your strengths.
Yeah. Cool.
Like, there's so many opportunities to do cool things. You don't need to be hitting the biggest thing there to make an impression.
Right. Yeah.
Like, you could just be doing a cool turn.
Yeah.
And somebody's like, wow, that was awesome.
And it's such a beautiful course that it's actually set up for the media part of it.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
So like, you could get a backdrop doing a little thing, but it's because of the size of the course in the shot. You're like, oh, that's
and the
just
scale of everything behind it too. It's such a dramatic course this year. I'm absolutely blown away by it.
Yeah, like, Sunshine is like no other place I've ever been. Just the beautiful valley in every direction. Yeah,
this is my first time up here, and I've been desperately trying to pick my jaw up off the floor the whole time. Just like, wow, these mountains just shot up out of the ground. This is nuts. Everything's so sharp and striking, and then the terrain's awesome, and you're going Mach 10. Like, this place is incredible.
It's awesome. So what does a typical year for you look like now? Like, are you still competing at stuff, or are you going to different events? Are you setting up like shoots? What's it look like? It's
become a healthy mix of everything, which is exactly how 12-year-old me would have wanted it.
Good.
Funny enough.
Good.
Couple contests a year, like went to Game of Snow recently, and I think I'm going to go to World Quarters. So like that sort of event style where it's kind of laid back, but it's also get in the pit and love somebody sort of deal.
Yep.
Then also following Crush around and doing his really creative events. This year, this tour in particular has been really special to me, at least. Just in name and the way that he's gone about things. He's been really thoughtful and inclusive and brought a lot of really unique groups of people together in a lot of locations that we all probably wouldn't have gone.
Cool.
Like, all together.
Yep.
Yeah. No.
Very cool.
Yeah. He has a very special way of creating a community around his events, which attracts me to then follow him around all year, which is fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, the mixture of having those couple contests a year to be like, cool, you got to gear up and like do hard rail tricks or like go real big.
Yeah.
And then also like, cool, you get to go hang out with Crush for a week. Like that sort of dichotomy has been really nice. And then also I've been filming with Louis Medeiros. He's been working on this documentary for the last 6 months or so.
Yeah.
It's all black professional snowboarders, and he was able to wrangle all of us into a snowboard crew, which is incredible.
Brad.
And took a bunch of us to New Mexico. So we all kind of got a chance to do a little team bonding and film a little bit. And
that place is steep. I wouldn't have expected New Mexico to have.
Taos is so
What
gnarly.
is up with that place?
I don't know, but I love it.
Yeah,
Like
that was a fun trip.
Yeah, like the locals were kind of bummed, like, snow could have been better. We were all just grinning ear to ear, going as fast as we could.
Cool.
Like, the terrain there is amazing. It's way off the beaten path and kind of nuts to get there, but it was well worth the trek.
Rad.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's been a lot more, like the Space Creators Tour, like you're saying, and a focus more on black snowboarding. This has become, I don't want to say trendy, because that's not what it is. Like for people that are watching that don't understand where this energy is coming from, because they think, aren't people not racist anymore? Isn't everybody just on a level playing field? What kind of message does it needs to get to those people?
Let's put it this way: it's not a trend; it's normal now.
Right.
Yeah, it's a natural progression of the sport to then include literally everybody. So we should get on that.
Let's get on that.
Let's really get on that, people. I guess that's the nicest way I can put that.
Yeah, I have friends that would argue that the space is already inclusive and that people are choosing not to include themselves. What kind of thing? Like, I don't know how to reach these friends.
Yeah.
Like, it's hard for me because I'm not very articulate at it, first of all, and I'm at the very first stages of understanding it.
Yeah, it's one of those things that takes a lot of time to fully understand.
Mm-hmm.
But the space has presented itself as inclusive. Now it's got to put its money where its mouth is.
That's a big one.
Like, big time.
Yes.
You say you're inclusive, bring your black friend up to go snowboard for the first time. Teach them how to snowboard. Like, you have a pair of boots that you're not using anymore, give them to a friend. Mm-hmm. You have a board you don't use anymore, give it to someone who breaks one or needs it. Like, just pay it forward in whatever way you can to make what you love to do more accessible. Because, like, we can say all we want, and you can print as many ads as you want saying you're as inclusive as you want to be, until you actually start physically uplifting people and doing things in your own life. It could be the littlest thing in the world, but that could change someone's life.
The listeners of this show have been really generous. Over the last 3 years, we've raised thousands of dollars for Stoke.org was
That's
the first
amazing.
one. That was
those
really
dudes are
cool.
Awesome.
And Indigenous Life Sports Academy as well,
Rad,
which is rad. And then I'm going to have to cut in this one because I forget the last one. But Russell chose it. Russell said, give the money to these guys. They're good people out of New York, I think.
Hoods to Woods?
Is it Hoods to Woods?
Or is it Shred Foundation?
It's Shred Foundation.
Sick.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's a big thing that we can say to listeners. Like, first of all, thank you for helping support these guys.
Yeah.
Second of all, you don't have to just do it through the show to win a prize. You can also just go and, pledge money for every month, or you can give a donation at the end of the year, whatever it is.
Totally, yeah.
And that gets the right people out in the right situations.
It really does, because those organizations have leaders whose hearts are in the right places, and they're down to lead instead of kind of be a boss to people. They very much will put their boots on and go snowboard with people and actively help change the lives of those who are involved in their organizations. So the easiest way to contribute. They all have websites. They all have ways to contribute. It's just however you can, helping people who are helping others get out there.
Yeah.
Do their thing.
That's really cool.
Yeah,
and there's lots
huge.
more of that happening right now, which is
There's a
great to
huge
see.
blossoming area for groups like that. And if you see room for that in your community, reach out to those people and be like, hey, you could start a sect here in my city, or like near this hill, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's a very, very special time for growth in snowboarding. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, snowboarding's always been this kind of expensive thing, right? Like if you compare it to skateboarding, you could just get a skateboard secondhand for however much that costs you, and then you don't really need anything more than that.
Totally, yeah.
Snowboarding, eventually you're going to need lift tickets.
Yes.
And they're expensive.
Yes, they are.
Plus all the gear, even if you get it used, is going to be relatively expensive.
That, and if you're not aware of it, just travel and how to get somewhere. Like, if you read into it, there's usually a way to get to a mountain. Yeah. It's just going to take a little bit more effort than you're usually used to.
Sure, yeah.
But, like, I don't know. I didn't have a car in Salt Lake for a long time, and like taking the bus to go snowboarding was like a totally normal thing. Yeah. And like you just figure out how to do it.
So you're 16 years old when you first moved to Salt Lake. Where are you living? Are you living in
I was living with
family's place, or
what? I was living with friends.
Friends.
Friends who were on the same snowboard team as me, but like they had a spare room and
rad.
Yeah.
So you're out of your parents' place at 16. You're living on your own. You're navigating what that means, trying to figure out how to get money every month and how to pay rent and how to feed yourself and get to the mountains and all that stuff. Does that help you or hinder you in your snowboarding career?
It was a big jump at first, and I really didn't quite know how to react to it, like any angsty teenager usually is. But it comes to a point where like, I knew what I wanted to do, and like knew what I kind of had to do to get there, and was willing to do all of it. So it kind of just, all right, this is what you got to do. Foot to the floor, baby.
Plus you're having fun, like probably as much or more fun snowboarding than you've ever had.
The purest form of joy I could possibly imagine, and getting to do that as much as humanly possible as a child was huge. Yeah. So huge shout out to my parents for allowing me to move out early. Huge shout out to the Quigley family for putting up with my angry ass. Shout out to the Park City snowboard team. You guys are the best. Keep doing what you're doing. Yeah.
Park City was your jam.
Yes. Yeah.
You're a Brighton guy now, aren't you?
No, actually. I moved back to California last August.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yep.
Oh,
I was kind of quick and quiet about it, but the city noise finally got to me.
Got you.
Yeah.
Got you. But you were Brighton there at the end, is
that
right?
I was.
So I don't, because for me, my generation, Park City was it. Park City was top to bottom park. It was like, it was just the place you wanted to go.
Totally, yeah.
And somehow it switched to Brighton in the last few years, it feels like. Like the community shifted over there. So is that a big question? That's not a big question, right? Park City to Brighton. Am I right in that?
Yeah, it actually kind of has to do with the greater, I guess, past conversation, the like multi-pass conversation that we're all having now. But this was sort of the beginnings of that conversation.
Okay.
But like Park City during the IRAD Park City days, which is like when I first went out there and like, whoa, what is this? And then moved out there and like got to experience all of it and like got to film with those dudes and that sort of thing. Like that was a special time for Park City. And then they were acquired by Vail Resorts.
Okay.
So like in that sort of managerial switch up, a lot of the athlete program changed and like how they went about marketing the mountain changed.
Yep.
And Brighton just became the more accommodating, I guess, place for those who were already professional or aspiring to be professional snowboarders to just kind of be. Because they were still doing like more rail jams, like contests in general. They did bank slaloms, like quarter pipe contests, all of it. And like the Park City scene was kind of just moving their marketing in another direction. So we all kind of stayed with what we kind of knew to be inviting. And they'd always been mom and pop, but pushing snowboarding forward in their own little way.
Cool.
And so it was just kind of a natural progression for a lot of us to move from one to the other.
That's a really important thing.
Yeah.
Because this whole marketing scheme that you and I are both trying to make our living from depends on the people who are passionate about snowboarding being involved in the direction of snowboarding.
Exactly.
Like
yeah.
if we can be replaced, and I'm, by the kind of marketing that is just 100% bottom line based. Like, can we charge for parking? Can we charge more for a chicken burger? Can we make the experience more, costly for the consumer? And but what about the experience? Who gives a shit about the experience? We're just trying to make money. And I got a free ticket from Palisades Tahoe this year. Thank you very much, Palisades Tahoe. That's fucking rad. I paid $310 Canadian for the ticket the day before. Not as rad, considering the full mountain wasn't open and it was limited. And I heard this year that the highest prices of surge pricing tickets was over 400 Canadian dollars for a single day ticket, right? So you think a family of four, $1,600 for a mediocre shit day in the middle of the year, that's just like not accessible. But it is making somebody some money somewhere, right?
It is.
Right? So
it is making some money somewhere, but there's also another alternative that most people don't really think about. But your local hill is usually the sickest place to learn how to ski or snowboard. Like, you don't need to fully go on vacation to go snowboarding.
Right.
Like, it could just be exercise.
Right.
We actually went on a trip last year with Cole Headwear. My housemate and I at the time, we did a bunch of research to just see if accessible snowboarding was still like a thing.
Cool.
And we found 5 resorts with a pass price under $30.
What? Rad.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a trip. We should put that together as an official trip, like the 5 under 30.
It's a video. It's out.
Dope.
Yeah, it's called the Affordable Snowboarding Act.
Are you serious?
Dead serious.
That's rad.
It's out right now.
I gotta look it up.
But yeah, we drove from Salt Lake City to Omaha, Nebraska, and started there, and looped from there to Minneapolis, Minnesota. And in that little loop, there are 5 resorts extremely close to metropolitan areas.
Yep.
All have a pass price under $30, and they're incredible.
Cool.
Like, I didn't know there was snowboarding in Chicago.
Right.
My favorite rope tow hill ever is in Chicago.
Are you serious?
It's a trash hill in the middle of a neighborhood.
That's amazing.
The park is run by high schoolers.
Yes.
It's amazing.
That sounds so fun.
Shout out 4 Lakes. Y'all are sick.
Awesome. Awesome.
But yeah, like, we went snowboarding in a cornfield in Iowa.
Cool.
Like, all sorts of, like, wherever there's a hill and it's cold enough that snow sticks, you can learn to ski or snowboard. It doesn't need to be a big thing.
Yep.
Like, it's been perceived as a vacation activity for a very long time.
Right.
It's the best workout ever. Like, you really just, if you find out that you have a local hill, go check it out. It's cool. Probably worth your time.
That's really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the moment that kind of creative, passionate energy doesn't mean anything to the sport, then we're all in trouble. That's the thing. It can't all be fat cats with bottom lines. It just can't. It's not good for the sport at the end of the day. I don't think. I don't know, and it's not even a sport. I don't know what I'm talking about.
I don't know whose quote this is, but to kind of paraphrase off of it, it's as soon as you're not, I guess, your bottom line becomes making money, you're no longer an artist. You're a business person. And, like, that's cool too. Like, get your bag, but, like, don't act like one and then walk like the other. Like,
right.
You're either there with your heart in the right place or you're there to make some money. One of the two. Right. And both should be valued just as equally, because without that creative heart, a business has no flair. Yeah. There's no special touch. There's no, like, making a customer feel special in that sort of way.
Right.
That like they're connected and loyal and end up coming back, whether it's the shoes you buy or like the cereal you eat or whatever it is. Like if there isn't that little creative touch, you wouldn't give a shit about those things. Like you wouldn't care.
Right.
So like companies, I guess long story short, should value those creative voices within them, whether it's the writers or somebody in the art, like the artistic department, or somebody who's like designing gear from the ground up. Like whatever that innovation is, like honor that.
Yeah.
Because that's what's going to end up making the biggest impression. Like it might seem a little weird and there might not be a like physical, tangible ROI that you're able to look at.
Right.
But the long-term effect of whatever that innovation is could potentially change the face of what you're working in.
Yeah, I think that the number one industry example of this is Vans. With Steve Van Doren, will talk about it. When Doug Palladini was CEO up there, or president, he was talking about it. It's like, look, when money became the bottom line for Vans and the focus, they actually lost their focus and lost their money. Like it was like going after money caused them a lot of hardships. Mm-hmm. And when they realigned with their core values, they're fucking crazy, using crazy terms now. When they realized we got this heritage with real people. Stacy Peralta and Tony Alva were the first skaters to design shoes for Vans. Like, holy fucking shit, right?
Absolutely incredible. Yeah. Like, beyond legendary names in skateboarding.
Yeah. And then Tony was on there, and he was helping out. They were like, we need to use our sweat equity and our authenticity in this space to grow as big as we should, not to fucking try and do some bottom line shit. But then what ends up happening is the bottom line stuff occurs. So if you're running Vail Resorts right now, right, and you're going, look, we're having record years as far as profits go or whatever, mm-hmm. and you're laying off on building epic parks because who's that for? Like, eventually, beware. This shit is you're gonna become a stale place for people to go, and you're gonna miss out on that flair you're talking about, which is the creativity behind all the best companies in the world, is that they have a partnership with somebody who's genuinely and authentically creative.
Yeah, I mean, I guess to kind of go off that, just having someone there in those big meetings with their heart in the right place, even if it's like one or two people, mm-hmm. like that could make all the difference in the world. Mm-hmm. Like it's not so much a warning to like not do something. It's more so an advisory to like value those creative people.
Sure.
Bring those creative people in, make them feel included, make them feel like their thoughts and their actions aren't just like that's the art department's thing or whatever. Like,
right.
Really, like, I guess, make it more inclusive. Bring people in. Everybody.
Be proud of your art department because they're the driving force behind
be proud of the creative people doing wacky stuff.
Yeah, totally.
All of it, because that's what's going to make the biggest difference.
I think so too, man. I've always followed companies and really enjoyed companies that have that wackiness. Of course.
I guess big life influence, not even just board sports, but Mark Gonzalez. Because he's in his 50s, still designing the craziest skateboards imaginable.
Yeah.
Having the time of his life, family man, has kids, like, just doing the thing. And it's incredible to watch those who have supported him really value the fact that he was down to like draw on the wall at one point, or like chopped up his grip tape all funny, or like chopped the nose off a skateboard, or whatever it was, whatever that little thing was, or said something goofy, or like did a funny skit.
Yeah.
But those things are really special. And yeah, I miss the whole being goofy and making skits for movies and snowboarding. Like that's what I grew up on, and that's like what left such a positive impression on me. And I guess if I can have any hand in having that come back a little bit, that'd be cool.
Yeah. That's rad.
Yeah.
That's rad.
Thank you.
Man, you're an inspiring snowboarder to watch.
Thank you.
You caught my attention right away. And you're a really articulate talker, which is super rad.
Thanks.
And you've been a really excellent guest. Is there anything else that we should touch on before we sign off? Feel like we got to it?
I feel like we've kind of run the gambit, really. Like, covered pretty much all of it. But last little things.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out Black snowboarding. Shout out queer snowboarding. Shout out Black queer snowboarding. We're all here to stay. This ain't a trend. Everybody's welcome. Let's do this. Thank you for your time. This has been such an honor.
You're the best, man.
Thank you.
FNRad shoutouts this week to Michael McDaniel. Thanks for being on the show. Special thanks to Blaze Rosenthal for introducing me to Michael. And very deep gratitude to Kendra Scurfield and Crush Kuliza for making Holy Bully at Sunshine Village happen and including FNRad in that radness. Congratulations to Patreon listener Chris Green. You've won a 1910 hoodie. Everybody else, join the Patreon today. And if you want a free sample of New Green's organic superfood drink, simply tag 2 friends and New Greens in any FNRad post, and we'll get you those greens. Be sure to come back next week for more FNRad snowboarding, presented by Skyview Campers and brought to you by FNRad Productions.